Hi everybody. Today I thought I'd do a little maintenance, and I'm going to do this one on a little bit of water maintenance. Now I have sanitized my fresh water tank before, and I'm not going to be doing that today. I took a quick trip last weekend. We're going to be taking another trip here in a couple weekends, but I didn't want to let the water sit in my fresh water tank the whole time because we aren't going to take a trip and we aren't using it. And I live here in Central Florida, and it gets really hot here, and you don't want your water sitting in your fresh water tank for long periods of time without cycling through it. So there's a couple things I need to do. Drain the fresh water tank mainly, drain the hot water tank as well, and let me show you what all is required for that for a Fleetwood Bounder 34H. That's a 2005. Hopefully I haven't forgotten anything this time. So what I'm going to use this time around is a small Phillips or a medium Phillips screwdriver. Just need it for the little pointy end there. 24 millimeter socket. It's my water filter wrench and a new filter. Now the nice thing about this rig is it uses a standard sediment filter that you would use on your house, or on my house anyway. So people have talked about using carbon filters or other type of filters. I've also read people saying you probably don't want to put a carbon filter on because it'll remove chlorine from the water, and you probably want to have a little chlorine in your tank just to keep it sanitized. So there's pluses and minuses to that. You can have another filtration system inside under your sink for drinking water, carry your own drinking water, or just worry about sediment like I do. So I'll change that filter out. I've only done it once. I've had this rig for a while, so it's probably a good time to go ahead and change this out. So let's get into draining the water system. Okay, so here on my rig, Fleetwood Bounder, 2005 Fleetwood Bounder 34H, there's a wet compartment right in front of the passenger side, in front of the rear tire here. So I'm going to open this up, and all wet compartments, what's the difference between a wet and a dry compartment? Your wet compartments, you will see, have a little drain plug right here in the corners. It's plastic on the bottom. So water, these are open kind of to the outside in certain places. Water can get in here and it'll drain out. So my wonderful wife loves to label everything, and it helps tremendously. She actually made a little tag for this one to tell me this is the freshwater drain. Now I'm not hooked up to any power right now. I made sure everything is off, especially the hot water heater. It's very important. So I'm going to go ahead and open up this valve, and it drains out underneath. So it's just quick turn. You'll see water's coming out down here, hopefully. There it is. Alright, that'll take a while to drain. And I'll open up some things inside as well to allow air back into the system. Next part I'm going to get to is right here at the hot water tank. Now, how do you get this open? That's not too bad. Little tab right here. Put a, whoops, so I lost it. Put a screwdriver in. Line that up. Screwdriver back out, and voila. This opens up. Now, mine stressed at some point and was coming apart, so I had to put some more sealant right here to kind of hold that in place, and I've done this as well. I had to replace the starter unit at one point because it would not start with gas. It was working with electric but not gas, so I've got a Dinosaur board. These are highly rated. They aren't very expensive. You can go right to their site and buy them, or you can buy them off Amazon. I bought it right from the site, from their website. Now my hot water is working perfectly. Alright, so you don't want to put too much weight on this little door. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open this guy up. Alright, not much to it. Open this plug up here. Whoop! I about made the same mistake that I made last time I emptied this out. Last time I got a quick shower. release the pressure first. Always a good idea. So let me release the pressure. Last time I did that, I made that mistake. Took the plug off and got an instantaneous shower. So I'm just going to open that up, leave it open, and make sure to close it when you're done. Alright, I'll take this little plug off. I carry a spare of one of these and some Teflon tape to seal it. Alright, so I'll take that off, whoop, back up, let it drain. Alright, no big deal there. I'll just let it do its thing. Alright, so while I'm at it, I'm going to go around to the other side. I'm going to put the plug in my pocket so I don't forget it. Alright, and you can see I've already got my water compartment open. Everything's going there. Now, I may be paranoid, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to open up my little my water inlet. Alright, now when you're putting water into this thing, air has to go somewhere, right? So there's a little air release here and some other things. I'm not exactly sure how those are valved or if they are, but if water's coming out, air has to go in. So I'm going to let it in right there. Right, do its thing. On this side, I've got these little drains, these little petcocks or valves or whatever you call them. And the previous owner, these things don't work anymore. And that's a real pain. So what he did was he left them open, as far as I can tell, and put these little pieces of rubber in here with hose clamps with these other valves on here, and that kind of works, but I really don't like that, so I'm going to replace that at some point. Just haven't gotten there yet. But my water filter is actually right there, so I'm going to take that water filter out, drain it out after all the water's been drained. I'll pull that, rinse it out, put a new filter in, and my onboard water filter will be all good again. Alright, so the only thing I really keep in this wet compartment, again, wet compartment because you can pull that right there, is I've got all these supplies. So, yay gators, I got my little bucket there, but all of my black tank supplies are here. I actually keep my freshwater supplies in here in a container. I don't keep them in the same container as my black. So when I get to a site to hook up, I open up, I pull out my fresh container box. It's got my pressure gauge. You see my little pressure gauge in here, hoses, everything I need, and I hook up accordingly over here. Alright, but I'm going to let it drain for a little bit and I'll come back and pick up from there. Okay, the water is just about done draining. Underneath you can see the hot water is just about finished draining as well. So what I've got here is my Teflon tape. I'll put a wrap around it and screw that back in, not too tightly, but enough to fit it in nicely, and then make sure to close this again. Now a lot of people will blow their lines out with water or put antifreeze in it or anything for long-term storage. Being here in Florida, Central Florida, we measure freeze by the hour here, sometimes even by the minute. So it doesn't freeze all that often, so I don't have to worry about winterizing my vehicle. I'm just going to get the water out so it doesn't get too stale or bad or anything. When I go to travel again, I'll actually put a little bit of water in, drain it out, just to flush it, just a little bit. And then probably put about 25 gallons or so in the system for when I'm traveling, just in case I need water for anything where I'm going. And if I'm going to boondock or something, I'll fill up. But you don't want to be driving around with a full water tank just because it's just a lot of extra weight. Okay, so quick turn and a half of Teflon tape here on the plug. I'm going to put this back in. Be careful not to cross thread it. That would be disastrous. But I do carry a spare just in case. Alright, get this guy started here by hand so I know it's threading in very nicely. It is. I already have my wrench switched over for tightening. I'll go ahead and snug that up in there. Alright, as you can see, you don't really want to over tighten it. Still going to be a gap in there, and that's fine. It was just tight enough I could tell it was sealed, or sealed very well. Alright, close my overpressure valve off here. Make sure it's nice and closed up. Alright, a little tab sticks out at the top here. Alright, put this all back in place. If I can get it back in place. There we go. Now, I have a hard time grabbing this thing and pulling it out, and that's why I use my screwdriver again. Pull that out, give it a turn, put it back flat. That's all done. Alright, so that's in good shape. I don't hear my water running anymore over here. A little bit. I see it dripping a little bit down there. It's been 15 minutes or so. It takes a little bit for that to run out. I'll give it some more time. I'll even give it a little more time before I attempt to take that filter out on the other side, because I can imagine that could get pretty messy. So how well is it drained yet? Well, I'm pretty patient, but I may take my chances. It's still dribbling a little bit out of the main drain line. I checked some things on this side, and let's see what it looks like as far as how much water is come out of this. So as far as water coming out, let me open up my little faucet right here. Yeah, that's pretty good. I'll close that back up. I've also opened up this low point drain valve on this side. Let me do the hot water one here. And you see why I don't like these little rubber fittings. Yeah, a little bit there on the low for the hot. Nothing on the cold. Of course, I've got the compartment drain opened up here, so that'll drain down. Of course, I have to be on a little rubber mat here because my knees can't take being down on the ground. I shouldn't even be kneeling, but I am anyway. And I'll get to that little filter container right there and get it off. But I'm going to close this back up. Now, anytime I open a valve or do something, I always leave the compartment door open as a reminder, because you don't want to open up something like on the main valve on the other side and then close your compartment and then you forget about it. All right, that would be really bad. So I leave the compartment door open to remind me to close that off. All right, so let me close these guys here. I wonder if I can do this one-handed. Let me give it a shot, see what I can do. Oh, look at that. The wrench doesn't really want to fit behind it. Let's see what I got here. Lefty-loosey, right? Righty-tighty, so I want to go this way. Oh, I got it one-handed. Unbelievable. If I can get it from here. Oh, look at that. I got some ants in here that don't like this either. Okay, filter's off. What have I got? Oh, it's empty. Oh, empty. Why is it empty? I'll tell you why. Because when I sanitized it last time, let me switch my camera here. All right, nothing in there. No filter. I'll tell you why. It's because RV Geeks, I watched their article, or their online blog there, on how to sanitize your system, your water system. They recommended taking chlorine, opening up that filter and putting chlorine in it and reinserting it, and then flushing it into your system. That's how you get chlorine into your main tank. Great idea, by the way. Sanitize the system very well. but I forgot to put a filter back in it. So I've been running around without a filter on campground water with no filter. And you see I survived, mainly because I use a jug of clean water when I go around. I don't use the RV water from the spigot. I only use that for washing dishes, brushing my teeth, flushing the toilet, taking showers, all that kind of stuff. Alright, so next time I'll remember, or try to, well, this time is actually next time, to put a filter in there. Alright, keep moving forward here. Okay, so I took the canister up and rinsed it out. Had a little bit of sediment in it, not much, but I wanted it nice and clean. Make sure your O-ring is back in there. It's just like changing your house filter. Really no different at all, at least on this model. Put the cartridge in here. I always make sure that it's seated well on that little nub in the bottom. There's a little ring down there this thing sits in. So you can feel it. Move it around. Set it in place. Get the unit back up in here. Oh, here we go. And you can see it up there. Get this in place. Give it a couple turns. You can feel if the cartridge is getting in there or not as well in the right place, and it did. Not cross-threading, not turning too hard. All right, hand tightened in there. Whoop. Lefty loosey, righty tighty, right? Okay. Oh my goodness, one-handed, this is really hard. I have to get this wrench in behind it. And I'm gonna have to stop the camera on this one to do both hands to pull this out a little bit. But you get the picture. I'll just get this wrench in there, give it a little bit of a turn, not too tight, all right, and seal it up nicely. Okay, so I got it in there. Gave it about 1/8 of a turn, not even 1/4 of a turn, and that was enough to seal it up. That'll seal it up nicely. All the valves are closed on this side. Water filter is back in place. I'm going to have to put the rest of the stuff underneath, close it up. But the one thing that you cannot forget about is closing up your valves and all your other things, right? So that's why I left the door open over here, to close that valve back up. Yes, indeedy. Close the valve. Close the valve. There it is. All closed. And now to be ready to close this compartment back up. My wet storage compartment. Let me shift everything over here. I put my blocks, my leveling blocks under here that I made. Give it a little nudge. All good there. And on the other side, did I forget anything? I got my fill valve open. Yep. So all this will close up. This will close up. See, I left this open right here for a reason. All right. Close that back up. Okay, so that's all taken care of. I'll take all my hoses, load everything back in there, and I think this one's done. I didn't even have to open a faucet inside or anything. It seemed to drain pretty well.